Hello, everybody. Welcome to my furry life. Chapter number 2, the Sugarwolf Crisis. I'm here in beautiful Sunset Park, Brooklyn. This is where I grew up. Not in the park, in the neighborhood, like 3 blocks over there. As you can see, it's really pretty. It was raining earlier, but there's a break in the clouds, and we're going to have some fun today. Well, not really. This chapter kind of sucks. It's kind of like the worst one of the story, but I'm going to try to make it some fun anyway. Got a beautiful background. People are having a good time. There's people dancing over here. Yeah. Back there, they used to play Pokemon Go. Good times. But you don't want to hear all that. You want to hear what happened after I told my mom about my online boyfriend. You want to hear the tea, the hot tea. So I'm going to give it to you. But first, I should talk about my mom for a little bit. Um, Fantastic, wonderful woman, raised me basically by herself, and yeah, I have no bad things to say about her. She always got me what I needed, and always made sure that I was taken care of and well loved, all that good stuff that a mom should do. So even when I told her about becoming a furry, she was like, "Oh, it's just a phase." Even though I was going to the damn Halloween parade with a belt around my neck, pretending it was a collar and saying that I wanted a tail and all that shit. But the important thing is she didn't discourage me. She's like, hey, try it out. Maybe you'll like it and it'll be a permanent thing. Or she thought it was a phase. So I told her about the online boyfriend. And of course, she was surprised. And, I never shown interest in any guys before. And so, it did take her off guard a little bit. But she accepted it and said, hey, I just want you to be happy. And I just know that, you know, homosexuals or queers, they have a hard time in life. They have a harder time. So that's what she was worried about mostly. But overall, she did not take away my computer. This is what I'm talking about. This woman just wanted me to be happy. She let me have the computer, even though my grades were really bad. And it sucks because the one thing she just requires from me in life is good grades, and I couldn't give it to her. She never pressured me to become anything or do anything or go to college, anything like that. And it's my biggest regret that I couldn't give her those good grades, those good marks in school. But yeah, she let me keep my computer. And upon reflecting on our conversation, you know, she told me like, hey, maybe like you liking the guy's face. So it got to me. I thought about it and thought about it, and I decided, maybe she's right. And I broke it off with Alpha. I told him, we can't do this anymore. And he's like, well, I thought it was love at first sight. I'm like, no, man. He's like, it's got to be realistic. You're in the UK. I'm in BK. It's not going to work out. So that only lasted for a few days before I went back to him. And assure you, that will never happen again. I will never let someone go and try to get them back down the line. Never happen again. So he accepted my apology, and we got back together. And I was doing some digging. I was reading some songs, and I realized like we role played in a dance. Like we had a slow dance role play, and I thought that was pretty cool because, as you will find out very soon, dance is a big part of my life in my 20s. And I just love to dance. And I also found this mixtape he made for me. I still have it to this very day. And it had that song, Hanging on the Moment. I forgot who sings it, but that was like the song he said that reminded him of me. And I thought that was very sweet. I love little sentimental things like that, little mementos that I can carry with me throughout life and be like, oh, I remember this. It brings me back to this moment. Uh, yeah, make mixtapes again. Make them happen. You can't do mixtapes because of Spotify and all that, but I love physical media. Don't let physical media die. So we got back together, and it did not last very long because it turns out he was talking to this guy from Denmark named Loris, another person from the fandom, from the forum, I should say. And I talked to him a little bit, and he's like one of like the nicest people you can ever speak to. He's had a lot of rough experiences. A lot of people treated him very poorly, and I was like, man, I feel that, I feel that. And those two just connected, and I don't know how it happened. All I know is he was like, hey, I'm leaving you for this guy, and like, I was crushed. I was like, damn, man, that hurts. Being rejected is a bitch. But of course, it's happened to me before previously, and it's not going to be the last time. So when that happened, I decided to go on this forum. It wasn't a forum; it was a website called Pounce. You guys remember Pounce? Man, some real creeps on Pounce. And I found this new friend from Long Island. His name was Xerxes Katos. I don't care about censoring his name. They're gonna watch this shit. And we started talking, and he was from Long Island, and I told him we should meet up in the city, like I did with Dream the previous year. And of course, I was flirting with him a little bit. I was being really nice. You want that comfort after being dumped. It happens to everybody. You kind of like cling on the nearest person or thing that gives you time of day. So I did that, and he took it very seriously. He thought we were going to be mates. So we met up and we walked around Times Square. I think we went into Virgin Megastore. You guys remember Virgin Megastore? That place was the shit. I love listening to new music there. This is when Times Square was fun. Toys R Us, the giant T Rex, and Ferris wheel. I miss that, man. You don't get that anymore. But eventually we went to this park, and he sang me this song. He sang me a song, and then he licked my face, man. I was like, what is going on? He licked my face. And yeah, I'm like, okay, it's nice meeting you. We went back on the train, and that was that. I felt shitty for that. I don't like leading people on. I like making them feel good, but I hate disappointing people. I hate it so much. To this very day, I just hate that. So for the next few months, I had like a depression. I was like sad, isolated. So instead of talking about that boring shit, I'll tell you about my songwriting. Back in '05, I started writing rhymes. It was just this thing that happened because the kid next to me in high school, he would write rhymes. So I'm like, I'm going to try it too. And then I just started spitting on the corner. And I was like, hey, I think I got something here. And then I started writing that summer. And I wrote these little short songs. They were like prototypes. But when I joined the fandom, that's when I really, really started to get serious about it. And my process was I would just find the beat that I liked and I would just write over it and then probably like change the chorus up a little bit. And that's something I do to this very day. It's like my therapy because back then I didn't have a lot of people to talk about what I was going through. So I would just write it down in a rhyme. I would write it in school, at home. Over the course of 2006, I must have written around 80 songs, no lie. And I still love it to this very day. Like the last 2 days, I was writing some new shit. And I don't record my stuff because I know it's never going to sound as good in my head. I did record one song, which we'll get to that in a later chapter. But I don't know, man. I like doing it this way. People always tell me you should record. I'm not that interested, but this is very important. And these are rap songs, by the way. In the beginning, they were rap songs, and I would post them on F to F. And I even made like a rap thread, like, "Hey, does anyone like rap?" Because furries hated rap back then. They were like anti-rap. Now you hear it at the cons all the time, but back then it was like very rare that furries would be like, "Hey, man, that song slaps." So I was like kind of the pioneer for that. And then later on, I would find more furries who were into it, and I'd befriend them, and it was a good time. I called my stuff, I called it Fur Hop. I will post some songs in the description so you guys can check it out and you guys can cringe just like I did reading them back. And then I also posted some songs in the last video too. You can check that out as well. Give me some more views. So that's what I was doing during my little Great Depression period, as I like to call it. I wrote a song called "I'm Okay" because I needed to be okay. I was in a bad place mentally. Fortunately, it won't be the last time. This particular moment I remember, I met someone online. I don't know. I guess it had to be through the forum, and he told me his mother, his mother like committed suicide, like shot herself, and I was like, God damn, like, and he felt suicidal as well. I didn't know what to do. This was my first interaction with anybody that was facing those dark thoughts. And I was only 17 at the time. I just felt very bad that I couldn't do more for him, and I tried to like, hey, I'm here for you. You know, you give the asterisk hugs, all that stuff. But eventually, I found out a few months later he did take his life, and really sad. Just I don't know if I could have done more. I really don't know. But I wrote a song in his honor. It's called "How You Feel," dedicated to him. So you guys got to check that out. Very heavy stuff. This chapter, very heavy stuff. Um, so that summer, um, during this whole time, I'm still hanging out with Dream every few months. I'm talking to my boy Ket, who I met on Xbox Live, as you remember, and we talk on the phone at least once a week. Like we had these long conversations. We had this great friendship that cannot be replicated. Like this was the ideal long distance friendship. We had each other's back, and he would tell me about his experiences, and they were pretty dark as well. So I wrote a song about him. It's like if I liked you at some point in the past, I've probably written a song about you, you know. And again, he was like facing some dark thoughts too, and I was like, man, I do not want to lose this guy. I love him, He's one of my best friends. Dream, on the other hand, he was still super chill. He's working at a juice bar. Whole bunch of drama there. But again, we're still not that close. So summer happens, and I get a note from Alpha on our supposed anniversary, which was 7/07, July 7th. And this year was July 7th, 2007. And I don't remember what he said. I'm like, hey, he probably said, like, hey, I hope you're doing well and stuff like that. And, I'm a friendly guy. I'm like, yeah, I hope you're doing well too. I think at the time he was um, dating someone else in the UK by the name of Lucas, I believe. And eventually I had another mate from Scotland. His name was Flamey, and that only lasted for a month because long distance relationships really ain't my style. But under the right circumstances, I would be willing to make it work. Not when I'm 17 years old and have like no freedom. So that was like just a flash in the pan. But then I met this one guy named Lobo. His first name, his full name was Lobo Dyrus. He was a dire wolf. And there was just something about this guy that like lured me towards him. I don't know what it was. So I started talking to him, and he was straight, new to the fandom. Well, I don't think he was new to the fandom. I think he knew about it, but this was his first time like interacting with other furries in the fandom. He was from Pittsburgh, and he made it clear that he was straight, doesn't want a male mate, and I'm like, all right, cool. I respect you. I respect you. But the way he was talking to me made it seem otherwise. It was kind of like that relationship I had with Kaz. It was like that special bond of wanting to talk to them all the time and share all this info. But I was tempering my expectations, put it that way. And then I noticed on the forum there was another guy named B. Cadizzle. His name's right. He was flirting with them hard, and Lobo would be like, no, he's just fooling around. There's nothing going on there. Of course, my spider sense is tingling. My intuition always tells me what's up. But again, I'm just like, it's none of my business. Sidebar, there was another new guy in the forum. This was like the next generation on like F to Fers. There were new people coming in the forum every day. One guy by the name of Pesky. And he was from Staten Island. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. Another local. And this guy was chill as fuck. And he was also mutual friends with Lobo and B. So it just made sense to be like, all right, let's be friends. And I thought he was way older than me. I thought he was in college. Turns out, spoiler alert, this kid was he was 14. He was only 14 years old, but the way he was talking was like very mature. Like he knew his shit. I was like, whoa. But he will be more important later. But this is when I met him. Now the Lobo thing, like again, we started role playing that song and dance. I started getting feelings, that song and dance. I'm really underplaying it right now because I look back on it and it's like really corny, but I was like infatuated with this guy. Like when I was infatuated with Kaz, I would think about him a lot. But this Lobo guy, thought about him like all day, all night. When I first woke up in the morning, when I first went to bed at night, you everybody's been there when they had a crush that they just can't get out of their head. It's insane. It's so crazy. So one night he tells me this. He tells me that if he had a male mate, it would be me. It would be me. And supposedly, I was calling myself his plushie, and I was giving him pet names like Sugarwolf. Man, that's why I call it the Sugarwolf crisis. Get it? But I saw his interactions with B on the forum, and those guys were just straight up flirting. It's the like I hate you, but I secretly like you kind of dynamic, and they're flirting on the forum. There's this counting thread where people are just talking and counting down from a million. It was basically like a chat room. So they were talking all through the night, and I remember just refreshing the page, seeing what they were saying, checking Lobo's profile, seeing when he last logged in. I was like obsessed, man. I was not getting any sleep. People were taking notice. My uncle, I'll never forget it. He told me, he's like, yo, Ed, have you been sleeping? Because you look like you have raccoon eyes, and raccoon eyes is not good. This means you're like up to here with anxiety. And back then, I didn't even know about anxiety, man. But I had it bad, real bad. And it was just going all through October of '07. Like, '07 was a shitty year. It was like that. And then the same year, I found out my cousin was pregnant with her first child. And it was an exciting time because for a long time we had a new member of the family joining us. So, we were excited. And then the night before she got her water broke and she went into labor, I just stood up all night, man. Like, I'll never forget that night. I stood up all night looking at the forum. I was fucked up, man. I was so jealous. It was crazy. I hated the way I felt. I hated it so much. Like, just letting these strangers from online control my emotions like that. It's the worst feeling in the world. I remember it like it was yesterday. 'Cause that shit leaves deep scars up here. But the one important thing Lobo told me, he invited me to Anthrocon. Anthrocon at the time was the furry fandom's most largest convention in the world. And he invited me to go in 2008. And I'm like, you sure? Like, yeah, come. And I'm like, okay, I'll go to my first con with you. And side note, what's funny? I actually got invited to FA United '07 that same year by Dream. He went with Foxwell. And you know why I didn't go? It's because I wanted to see Rush Hour 3 opening weekend. Hell yeah. Anyway, back to the night I had terrible insomnia. Tossing and turning, trying to go back to sleep, and I couldn't do it. And then the next morning, I found out my cousin went into labor. So now it's like, I'm worried about my cousin, but then I'm worried about this situation, and I'm just like torn. So that's it for chapter 2. I told you it was going to get dark, but next time we are going to have some fun because guess what? I'm going to Anthrocom, and I'll see you there. Peace out, guys. Stay safe.